I would want to throw some question to Bishop concerning what he had submitted earlier on. Bishop, you seem to be an open-minded kind of bishop. I know you are representing the faith leaders and the faith leaders. It's a broad sector. You seem to be a kind that is open-minded. How do we get the other faith leaders on board? How do we get the other faith leaders on board who seem to be conservative? I sometimes find it, actually, I find many faith leaders who cannot encourage ABC, as you talked about it earlier. They fear to say a condom is protective. So how do we get the other faith leaders on board just to think like you? Over to you, Godfrey.
Oh, thank you so much, Moses. Before I answer this question, I wanted to bring in a little challenges that faith leaders are facing. And in this regard, I would love to say that as faith leaders, there are primary focuses that faith leaders have and their institutes. And some of these focuses overshadow some of these subjects that we are dealing in. For instance, the sexual reproductive health education. You will realize that faith leaders are more focused on converting people, on the spiritual general welfare of their followers and that kind of thing. And then in the long run, they end up forgetting, placing an emphasis on such important issues that affect our young people. And I think this regard also applies to other fields. You will find some institutes, some academic institutes that place their focus so much on academic excellence, and they don't strongly point out such an education, yet such an education is very important to our young people. You've had majoring submit part of this, and this is the reality that is eating up our young people, especially in schools. Personally, in Kayunga district, I'm running, I've established a school and I'm running a school. And I've started with a kindergarten and a primary school, and I'm in a process of establishing a secondary school by the River Nile. The school is called River Nile Academy. But one of the challenges we've been encountering was having young people involved sexually, so much actively involved in sexual activities. I'll say this. Of recent, we dealt with about 3 cases where young girls who are between the age of 12 and 15 years were, getting pregnant, and one of them got married off by the parent. And this is happening just 1 hour away from the capital city. And so I can imagine how much impact this has done in further communities that are not well reached out. So the challenge of faith-based leaders focusing so much on their primary goal overshadows their concentration on empowering the young people, especially on such a subject. And we all know that if our young people get messed up in these areas of in their sexual lives when they are still young, this can affect their entire future. If a young person has been raped, if a young boy has been molested, if a young boy has been initiated into homosexuality, a young girl initiated into lesbianism, this can totally mess up their entire focus in their goals in life. And it affects them until their adulthood stage. So it's a very important thing to put on concentration, that faith leaders be brought or encouraged to come on such panels so that we find a way of engaging the young people so much with this kind of education. Then secondly, I noticed that there is a lot of misinformation My sister Marjorie has hinted on that. But there is also lack of reliable information for religious leaders. And because of that lack, because of that limitedness of information, for instance, the statistics that you shared before we started off this discussion were alarming. And you will be shocked that religious leaders or other leaders in society don't know about this. So the problem is they don't have a reliable source where they can get such statistics. And yet these statistics can awake us. These statistics help kind of blow at the trumpet, blow the trumpet for us to wake up so that we enforce, we work together and enforce this education among the young people. And because of the limitedness of information, because we don't have reliable sources of getting this information, the impact is not so much from the religious leaders. Yet we have a wonderful platform to reach out to masses of young people. Personally, I've been doing a lot of meetings in colleges, in universities, in institutes. We can gather up to tens of thousands of young people in these worship rallies, in these evangelistic rallies. We gather a lot of young people. But the problem is we are not, I think, connected to the right information. In a few years ago, when we did a campaign on the university, my organization collaborated with PSI, Ministry of Health, TASO, and the Students Guild at Makerere University. And we were able to do a survey. We did a survey that brought out some statistics. And these statistics caused an awakening. These statistics pushed us, this information that we got from just Makerere University pushed us to do something. And this is one of the things that we discovered. We discovered that 75% of the students in the university were actively involved in, their lives were active sexually. And the shocking survey was, out of every 10 students, 3 had HIV/AIDS. That was shocking. It blew all of us. We were in the main hall. We were holding a meeting with all these, with the representatives from all these organizations. And I'm telling you, everybody woke up. And that is when the university opened up the doors. We started doing seminars, conferences, and we embarked on a campaign to be able to help our young people. So the challenge of limited information limits the religious leaders from coming to such panels to make a contribution, because they do not know how much this pandemic, how much the impact is out of this pandemic. I mean, things are happening behind us in our society. Things, you heard Marjorie talk about what is happening in the schools. And it's worse than that. When you go to institutes, every evening, you're going to find, special cars packed around hostels, residences of students. And sometimes you will think these are parents to your daughters, parents with your daughters, yet these are sugar daddies. And so there is a lot of involvement in sexual activity, and a lot of mistakes are happening. And indeed, this is eating up our society. So we need to, I think, as a platform, to push and empower the religious leaders into getting the right information and from the right sources. And that alone will help the religious leaders to come out to such panels and make a contribution, because they will see the need on the table. Lastly, of course, some of these programs call for funding, and there is limited funding for religious leaders to do that. But if the information comes up, funding won't be an issue. When a trumpet has been blown that this is how much this is affecting the society, I'm telling you, we will all wake up. We will all join hands with the leaders in the academic sector. We will join our hands with the leaders, with our parents. We will join our hands with the political leaders, and we will work together to bring a solution to the society. To close on this, I want to say religious leaders are ready and are willing to come on these platforms. They are more than willing and ready, but they need to know how much the need is to help our young people. Thank you so much, Moses.
Thank you so much, Godfrey. Godfrey still mentioned about edutainment, where he talked about engaging the youth in debates, in concerts, and trying to find a way of disseminating reproductive health education.